All right, let's try it again. Sorry, this is Mike Mataraki, JOJO Electro News Vlog number 3. For some of those of you that know me, I do a cannabis vlog for our cannabis business. I also have a podcast called Mellow Riot, mellowriotpodcast.com, and we talk about culture, music, politics, cannabis, cryptocurrencies, conspiracies, and a bunch of other stuff in between. A lot of music, a lot of DJs, a lot of stuff like that. And so this ties into it pretty well. JOJO Electro is our t-shirt website. It's the largest brand of dance music, merchandise, and apparel on the web that deals only with electronic dance music, meaning anything related to house, techno, trance, dubstep, breaks, new disco, deep house, drum and bass. I think I already said that. Anyhow, all the subgenres of electronic dance music. So anyhow, we've been doing vlogging on several channels, and I want to continue it with this. I came across an article in my reading that I wanted to share with you guys because it's very poignant in this day and age, and it deals with music producers, and we all have our favorite music producers not getting paid fairly for the product that they're putting out. And it's really interesting when you think about it. Like, these streaming services are supposed to be paying artists, whether they're house music, electronic dance music, country, rap, whatever. And you think about radio, like, why is radio excluded? Why is radio excluded, but Sirius is not, or YouTube Music or Spotify or whatever? So I was reading this article, and it says Sound Exchange CEO says it's time that radio starts paying all music creators fairly for their work. On Monday, a group of radio broadcasters penned a letter in support of the National Association of Broadcasters, or NAB, and pushing them for deregulation of the $14 billion radio industry. Their letter was based on NAB's petition to the FCC this past June, in which NAB sought to allow expanded broadcaster ownership of radio stations, i.e. increased consolidation across the country. NAB's justification: broadcasters must adjust their business model to the realities of the new streaming world. So this guy goes on to say, as a representative of the many creative parties who help craft music, we are frequently on the opposite side of issues from the National Association of Broadcasters. And while I can't comment on their specific requests, I was delighted to find so much common ground in their FCC filing in June. Now it says, for background, traditional radio benefits from the biggest sweetheart deal in U.S. copyright law that allows broadcasters to play every recording in the world without paying artists a dime. As everyone knows, these tracks draw the crowd, which allow radio stations to sell billions of dollars in advertising every year. But radio pays exactly zero to the creators that drive their programming. And yet all of radio's competitors do pay the recording artist. Making matters worse, radio's special exemption doesn't exist anywhere else in the developed world. It's an injustice found only in the United States. However, they filed with the FCC this summer, and this guy is pleased and heartened to see that the big radio is now looking to adjust their rules to today's circumstances. We support the updating of radio's business model and agree with much of the National Association of Broadcasters' perspective. First, NAB laments that radio's current rules have not kept pace with the transformation of the marketplace, and that regulations were adopted when streaming services like Pandora and Spotify didn't exist. We couldn't agree more, this author goes on to say. The law should update its treatment of radio in light of digital platforms that, coincidentally, pay artists fair market value for their work. Most telling, NAB complains about outdated rules that apply only to radio and asks the government to quit treating them by a different standard. They don't want rules for radio, and they are not shared equally by their streaming competitors. Bravo, they are absolutely right. Broadcast radio is the only platform that can use music without paying for it. And they should no longer be eligible for this special outdated exemption in the digital age. Big radio should play by the same rules. The irony of all this is that broadcast radio is still a huge financial juggernaut in the music economy. It's not like radio can't afford to pay recording artists. Nobody makes more money from recorded music than the $14 billion radio industry. Radio revenue blows away that earned by competitors like SiriusXM, which is $5.4 billion, and online streaming services, $6.2 billion in total. So this author's pleased that the National Association of Broadcasters is coming around. He agrees with NAB that the law should finally adopt rules reflecting competitive reality in today's audio marketplace and should level the playing field for all entities in the music economy. If radio truly wants to modernize, it can start by taking a giant leap into the 21st century and paying all music creators fairly for their work. Stop treating artists like 17th century indentured servants just so radio can reap bigger profits. Now, that dovetails into this next article that I found. I was digging for someone or something that is doing the exact opposite of radio, and I found this company called Resonate. The article says, by Spotify, can this new streaming service help listeners play fair? It's really interesting because these guys have something that is built on the blockchain, which has been made famous by Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But the blockchain in this article, which I'm going to kind of gloss over for you, the blockchain is going to make sure that all people in a band, for example, the drummer, the singer, the tambourine player, whoever, everyone gets paid accurately and fairly, which is one of the interesting perks about the blockchain, which is what I'm going to read here for you in a second. John Davies has set out on a career creating experimental music about the exploitation of people and the environment. Like many independent artists, Davies doesn't expect to earn much profit from digital downloads or streams of his music, so he relies on a handful of side hustles to make a living. He works 5 days a week as an usher at a local music venue in Liverpool. He also seeks out freelance writing gigs and performs at Cafe OTO in order to make rent, which is about £500 monthly for him, rent and bills. Making money off his music online just isn't in the picture. From my own experience, he says, I tend to just not make any money from streaming services, Davey says. He has been making music under the alias Kepler for around 3 years. He was searching for an alternative to big streaming platforms like Spotify, which pays artists tiny amounts of royalties per stream, when he came across Resonate. Resonate, based in Berlin and established by founder and CEO Peter Harris in 2015, aims to put the money and power in the hands of the artists. It does this through three main selling points: an alternative to a monthly subscription service, an innovative technology that allows for a more transparent and efficient way of paying artists, which I was talking about earlier, and they do it on the blockchain, which is super interesting to me. And then finally, what was the third thing? I'm sorry, I took my... And it's also a cooperative model, this article says. It's a protest against capitalism. It's a protest against the Silicon Valley model of startups and platforms. And in some sense, it's a protest against the way music is now being distributed and consumed, Harris says. Harris is a musician and electronic arts performance artist. After trying out his music on various streaming platforms, he realized that none could offer him the experience. Sorry, I was looking at comments on Facebook. None could offer him the experience that he wanted, so he created his own. Each time a song is streamed by a listener on Spotify, the artist earns an average of 1/3 of a penny in royalties, less than 0.4 of 1 cent. And yet Spotify is the second most popular music streaming service behind Apple Music, with 70 million paid subscribers worldwide. Many independent record labels have refused to go on record because they're afraid if they criticize Spotify, they're somehow going to get blacklisted, Harris says. That's a really dangerous power dynamic, and it also reveals that there's a strong desire for something different. He says comparisons to Jay-Z's Tidal, that's Tidal, which is Jay-Z's streaming service, also claims to give more power and profit to the artists, are off the mark. If they had gotten up on stage at Tidal's big announcement and next to every one of those stars was someone totally unknown, and they'd said, we're going to build a service for the big names and people you haven't heard of, then maybe Resonate would never have needed to exist, Harris says. The reality is, the artists who own it are a very small handful of extremely rich stars. That's Jay-Z's service, TIDA, Tidal. We contrast that against Resonate, which every single artist and member owns. According to 2014 report, 77% of music, recorded music revenue goes to the top 1% of artists. I've experienced firsthand how hard it is for artists from these backgrounds to actually make money, says Natalia Linares, a board member from Resonate. She worked in the music industry for 12 years as a publicist and manager for independent artists, experiencing how unfair the business is, especially for artists from minority backgrounds, she says. It's very exploitative, and models like Spotify and iTunes aren't built to sustain a class of artists, she says. If Resonate can work and we can build this and show that it is possible to build a platform that artists and listeners actually share and benefit from, that would be a huge contribution. So here it gets into the details. Resonate is a cooperative, and because of that, the artists, board members, and listeners all have a stake in the company and participate in decision-making. According to its website, 45% of Resonate's annual profit is distributed to artists, 35% goes back to the listeners, and 20% is paid to the staff. Resonate's alternative to a monthly subscription service is based on a stream-to-own model. This is kind of interesting. I've never heard of this. Listeners pay a cheap price for a streaming of a song. Let me turn this a little bit. Listeners pay a cheap price for streaming a song for the first time, which doubles with each play until it's comparable to the price of a regular iTunes download, $1.29. So after 9 plays of that one song, the song is completely paid for, and the listener can download it for free from the service. Well, not for free, but after they paid for 9 streams, it's a free download. It takes somewhere between 150 to 200 plays on Spotify to reach the price of an iTunes download. Excuse me. We do that in 9 plays, Harris says. Resonate also uses blockchain, the online ledger technology behind Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, to create a more transparent way of tracking and distributing payments, as well as more user privacy and power over the personal data and interactions on the service. So how does that work, you're asking yourself? Well, let's see here. I'm about to tell you. Blockchain allows for the use of smart contracts. For those of you who haven't heard of those in the cryptocurrency world, it could be more of an efficient and seamless way for paying artists. You can have a smart contract that sends 30% to the singer, for example, 25% to the guitar player, and split up the rest among the other 4 members of the band, Harris says. The smart contract will receive the money and then distribute it out instantly. This is all done automatically without some sort of greedy manager or bookkeeper or whatever getting in the way. This is done on the blockchain, on the internet, the same platform that Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies are operating off of, which is totally decentralized. For those of you who want to know more about the blockchain, just start researching it. It's really interesting. Davey says the blockchain aspect is one of the main factors that drew him to Resonate. As an underground artist, I think it's not good politics to be dismissive of a technology like the blockchain, which looks like it's going to be sooner rather than later a very important way we not only approach things like currency, but also the way we approach contracts and agreements and the documentation of digital goods, he says. He believes Resonate will be more beneficial for artists once it catches on and as more people start to use it for streaming. Harris says the service has almost 5,000 total members, 1,000 of whom are listeners. And in March, Resonate received $1 million investment from Archain, which is a Seattle-based blockchain system cooperative, to further develop its technology. So anyhow, I thought those 2 articles were interesting. One, this guy's acknowledging in the first article that radio has got to stop raping artists, whether they're house music, EDM, techno, country, whatever. Radio needs to stop stiffing them and giving them the shaft. And other streaming services are paying a pittance to these artists for each download. And this one, Resonate, built on the blockchain, hopefully will provide an answer for a lot of these guys. We'll see. If you're listening and you're a house music, techno, trance, dubstep producer, maybe go to their website and ask them how you get your music on their platform, if that's even necessary, or are you automatically on there? I don't know. But it's worth checking out. For those of you who can see the top of my shirt, I'm wearing my Trance Armstrong shirt today. From the JOJO Electro website. Let's see if I can show it to you. Bear with me 1 second. Here we go. So, check this out. This is one of my favorite designs. This little raver is wearing his kickwear pants. He's got a cigarette in his mouth. Very Johnny Quest looking, with some club lights coming from behind him. And he's on a 10-speed bike. Trance Armstrong. This guy definitely did not win any races, but he looks good. All right, so check this shirt out and all the other shirts of ours on our website at jojoelectro.com, which is on the screen right now. If you're just listening to this, the audio, jojoelectro.com. Thank you for checking out JOJO Electro's news vlog. And on the website, don't forget to use JOJO News 15 as a promo code to save 15% off of any of your purchases. JOJO News 15 with no spaces, and that's a promo code. All right, until next week. Talk to you guys later.